Recording in progress.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Police and Fire Retirement Plan Board meeting for June. This is Sunita Ganapathy. I'm going to start off the meeting and do roll call. Do we have Dick Santos? Andrew?
Here.
Howard?
Present.
Dave?
Here.
And we have Eastward is absent, I believe, and then we have two members, Franco and
Here.
Dave Wilson. Also,
I'm here.
also present are on our remote. So I'll hand it over to council to qualify the remote.
Sure. So, Chair Votto, you're appearing by the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules. Are you teleconferencing from the location at the address 221 North Rampart Boulevard, Las Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And is the location from where you're teleconferencing from ADA accessible and open to the public?
It is.
And have you posted the agenda on the exterior of the location from where you are teleconferencing from?
Yes, I did.
And if any member of the public wishes to be heard by this board from that location, can they be heard?
Yes, they can.
Okay. Chair Votto is qualified under the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules to participate as chair of this meeting. And Trustee Wilson, are you teleconferencing from the location of 221 North Rampart Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada?
Yep, I'm here.
And the location from your teleconferencing from, is it open to the public and ADA accessible?
Yes.
And have you posted the agenda on the outside of your location where it can be seen by the public?
Yes, we have.
And if a member of the public wishes to be heard from that location, will they be able to be heard from this board?
Yes, they will.
Trustee Wilson has been qualified under the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules. Thank you.
Okay. Sunita's already called the meeting and done roll call. So for orders of the day, we have none. We have one item to waive on sunshine, which is Roberto Pena's commendation. And forgive me because our internet here is really slow. Let me get to the agenda. I think we have to do our ceremonial item here.
Chair Votto, if we're waiving sunshine on that item, we need a first, second, and a vote.
Oh, sorry. All right, I need a vote. I need a motion and a second to waive the sunshine.
So move, Santos. Second by Gardenier.
So we have a motion by Santos, second by Gardenier. I believe we're gonna have to do a roll call.
That's correct.
This is where he doesn't remember your names.
Thanks. This is where my internet's slow. I gotta keep track of it.
Just call our
Give me a
names.
second.
Do you want me to do the roll, Franco?
Yeah, if you could do it,
Yeah.
because our internet here is really bad.
Sure. Andrew?
Aye.
Dick?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Franco?
Yes.
Dave Wilson?
Abram, yes.
And this is Sunita, yes, as well.
You know, because of our internet, Sunita, I think you're gonna have to chair because I'm trying to pull up the links and nothing's coming up on my iPad.
Sure, no problem.
So I think I'm gonna have to turn this over to you to chair. I apologize.
Sure. No problem. Happy to step in. Certainly keep me in check, both Maytag and Franco, if I miss something. The first item, of course, is presentation of the commendation for to Roberto Pena for his extensive service as CEO and board secretary for this Police and Fire Retirement Board of Administration system. We're very grateful for all his years, and we will miss his pleasant personality and his his insights throughout my time here, and I'm sure others feel the same way. I was wondering if people want to go around and say something about Roberto, and then I would request Dick Santos as the most senior member of the board to give the commendation to placard to.
So I'll wait.
Yeah. Anybody wants to say something?
No, Roberto, I want to appreciate, I think I've been with you for 8 years, a little over 9 years now. You have been very steadfast and has provided a lot of guidance, for myself as I started off and, through the several years. I've heard the stories of how you've been recruited here, by Sean Caldor and, when you're in Puerto Rico and the high skill level and your experience that you brought to us. You brought our plan to a great place, and I appreciate all the service that you've done for us, for this board, and also for our membership. Thank you.
Prabhu?
Well, I let the trustees go first.
Okay. Franco or Dave, do you want to go chime in before anybody else?
Yes, I will go. Roberto, as we've talked about this. You came to San Jose at a time where we really needed someone to kind of ground us, take the reins, and be a fair and impartial person to kind of clean up the mess that your predecessor started. I really, really appreciate all your hard work and staying with us and staying for the cause. You've done an amazing job, and I appreciate you.
Howard, you
Roberto, I haven't known you as long as everyone else. However, from what I've seen, especially during some trying times with the pandemic, the way you've managed your team, the way you've shown leadership, and I think your tranquility as a leader, I think, is something that I really respect, because it's not easy, the job you have, and I think you've done a great job overall, and I appreciate the dedication and service that you've had for the plan.
Any other trustee want to say anything? Oh, Trustee
Well,
Kwan.
I'll just keep mine short since I haven't known Roberto for that long. I mean, I wish we had more opportunities to spend time together and work together on different areas, but I guess we didn't. Having said that, from what I can see from higher level, I think you've done a pretty good job here. And I just want to thank you for all your work and your service, and just enjoy your retirement. And whenever I'm in Orlando, and I think I may be in Orlando very soon, I'll look you up.
Any other words from Trustee Wilson or Santos before we hand it off to Prabhu?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dave. I would like to say something. Roberto, I'll keep it short and sweet. You've been a great mentor and leader on this board, putting up with all my stupid questions that I give you offline and providing direction for myself and my members, and I truly, truly appreciate that. And I know we keep talking about getting a beer and getting a drink. We're going to make it happen. Don't worry about it. Congratulations on your retirement.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just was really, no need to repeat what the other trustees said, but I joined the board in the middle of COVID, and it was really helpful to have Roberto as a sounding board to get me accustomed to this, the public service side of things, and I really appreciate all the sort of the offline conversations we have had, and to get me up to speed, and certainly through the audit committee. Thank you. Prabhu?
Sure, yeah. I've known Roberto since November 2016 when I joined the Fed board, so it's been almost 7.5 years. And Roberto has been a true partner, and I think it's a very odd arrangement we have here, unlike other systems, with the CEO and CIO both reporting to the boards. And the reason that has worked so successfully is really Roberto, and not me. And I've been a pain, I know, but that's just part of the job. But I've learned a lot from Roberto.
I was in the private sector for the first 25 years of my career. I'd never worked in public service or government when I joined San Jose. And really, I mean, I think Roberto sort of helped me in the first few months when it was very tough for me to come into this environment. And he would often tell me, you know, I would have something in mind and I'd say, oh, this will easily pass the board. And he'll say, no, this is dead on arrival. And sure enough, that's what will happen. And so he knows how to read people very well, and it's a very rare skill. And it's hard to juggle so many stakeholders, and which I think he has done very skillfully. It's a very tough job, and I think he's navigated it brilliantly. And we wish you the best, Roberto. And maybe you'll come back as a trustee.
I think he's more than 50 miles away, though. He's running away.
That is true.
Well, my house is closer, so maybe they allow me to do that.
Okay, so I now request Dick Santos to hand over the. Do I need to read it out?
Yes, you,
Okay.
I'd appreciate if you would.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Read it
Oh,
off on the
sorry.
presentation.
Whereas CEO Roberto Alpina started working for the city of San Jose in February 2013. In 2014, Retirement Department Services became the Office of Retirement Services. His title was changed to Chief Executive Officer and now reported directly to the Retirement Board of Administration for Federated City Employees and Police and Fire Retirement Plan. Whereas in 2013, CEO Pena worked with Granicus and Legistar for developing agenda and minutes. Whereas in 2014, the board hired a governance consultant. The systems conducted a nationwide search for a CIO. Whereas in 2015, under the direction of the CEO, the Office of Retirement Services continued to develop. Whereas in 2016-17, the investment programs continued and both plans held annual stakeholder meetings. The CIO retired. Whereas in 2018, CEO Pena and both plans hired a new CIO. Whereas in 2019, the CEO implemented a new PAS which went live in February. Whereas in 2020-21, the CEO and both boards led a strategic communications plan that encompasses social media and other communication needs of the ORS. Whereas in 2022-23, the investment program continued to manage portfolio investments. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Administration, Police and Fire Department Retirement Plan of the City of San Jose that the Board of Administration extends its thanks to Roberto Alpina for his dedicated years of service to the Police and Fire Retirement Department Plan and for his adherence to high standards of quality, ethics, and integrity for this board and for his performance of valued service. Throughout Roberto's 11+ years, Roberto supported ORS staff and highly encouraged employee recognition program and activities. And I guess it's our turn to recognize his amazing contributions. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you for the honor of allowing me to do this. I do want to make a little comment. When I was active, I was 12 years the vice chair. My 12 years of activity. You know, back in then, we had city council members and we didn't have civilians. And it would always be a police officer or a firefighter who would be chair. But we didn't stop to recognize Sunita. She's the first woman.
Oh.
And well deserved. And we're better for it. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
So, to go on with Chair Votto said, when we were in a situation here, the previous CEO, my time, was here like 40 years. And then later on, when I was retired, they asked me to come back, and I said, "No, fine. What's the issue? There was some issues here, and they had another CEO. And so when I got here, I saw the mess, and I totally agree with Chair Votto. It was our first time that we were allowed to be independent, and with Drew, we selected Roberto, and we're better for it. He's done a heck of a job, and you weren't here during those times. It was tough. There was a lot of negligence, a lot of issues and so on. And we got Harvey and Reed Smith, and I can go on and on. Things really improved, and he was part of it. And as a former ball player, we'd always talk about our back injuries or whatever have you. But he's done a heck of a job. And as Babu said, it's a tough job. The titles are easy, then all of a sudden you're in the trenches. And then you got the politics. It's very difficult. City council people, you know, they allow a certain amount of independency, but again, they want the last say. They're the ones responsible. So it's a tough job, and you can't please everybody. But I know the changes. When you have different tiers and so on, there's different animosities and hard to recruit. There's a lot of issues. But we came through, and we had overpayments, underpayments. There's a lot of issues, tax issues. But somehow, we all got together and worked together to help solve them. They weren't easy. And I want to thank you for your service. And
Thank you,
best to
sir.
you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
It's for the newsletter.
I assume I'm allowed to say a few words this time?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. First of all, I just want to thank you all for your kind words. Much appreciated. I also want to, on behalf of the members, thank you all. This is not an easy job. I know you're not doing it for the money. So, I do want to thank you for your engagement and commitment to the plans, for the betterment of the plans and the members. So, that's much appreciated. I also wanted to respond to Prabhu. Obviously, he was being very modest. Obviously, to be able to, he's correct. This is a different kind of approach with the two boards and having the CEO and the CIO reporting to the boards. But it takes a team, both of us working together. So obviously it's not just me and the team. Obviously the office staff, I'm sure Prabhu will be the first one to tell you we couldn't get anything done if our staff that we work with would not be doing the jobs and doing an outstanding job. So as a parting ways, I want to say thank you to the staff, to all of you that have worked with me for the last 11 years, for your support and for your hard work and dedication. It is much appreciated. And to the plan members and to the boards, it has been an honor to work with you and for you for the last 11 years. So thank you very much.
Just wanted to see if anybody else from staff wanted to say anything. I don't know if Barbara's on or anybody else.
I am on.
Not to put you on the spot, but if you want to say in a few words, Barbara, I'm happy to.
Yeah, no, Roberto has been quite an inspiration. He's a fantastic leader. He's served the boards well, and he serves staff and our department very well. And it was my privilege to work alongside him.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Eileen, please.
So I've known Roberto for probably 25 years. So we did work together at another fund, and he was in a different capacity. But my observation is now as then, he's extremely hardworking, committed, and in this position, it is so important to be a very honest and trustworthy individual because of the fact that we're all fiduciaries, and Roberto's just completely epitomized that. Always made decisions in the best interests of the fund, and I've always respected him for that. So I wish you well in your retirement, and thank you, board members, for giving me the opportunity to also recognize Roberto.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you, Eileen. Okay, great. I don't know, anybody else? Last call? Okay, going once, twice, thrice. We're going to switch to closed session, Maytag?
Yes, that's the next item on the agenda.
Okay. So moving to closed session, thank you.
here.
Oh, great, okay. So can we start without Howard?
I'm sorry?
Can we start without Howard? We have quorum, okay. So we're back in open session. We have no reportable item from closed session. Excuse me. So I think we need to, did we already approve the consent calendar or? I forget.
Have
No,
not.
okay. So do I have a motion to approve the? Motion from Dick Santos. Do I have a second?
Second by Gardner.
Second by Gardner. How do we vote? I guess we have to go around the room.
Yep.
Dave Kwan,
Yes.
myself, yes. Dick Santos?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Franco? Dave Wilson? How do you vote on the consent? Okay, and is Franco back or?
Yeah, he said I guess maybe you didn't hear him.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And Howard, this is about the consent calendar.
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. The motion passes unanimously. The next item is investments. Oh, were there any public comments on the consent calendar? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move to the next item, which is investments. Hand it over to you, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, trustees. We will be doing the last quarter performance update this month. But before I go there, I have pro forma performance. The pension plan as of June 4th, fiscal year to date, was up 8.75%. And the healthcare trust was up 8.47%. Of course, we have 16 trading days left. Anything can happen in the markets, but so far it's looking good.
So just to confirm, year to date as in fiscal year.
Fiscal, I did say, yeah, fiscal year to date.
It's great. Thank you,
Thank you.
Prabhu.
And with that, I'm going to turn this over to our consultants. Casey Boyer is on vacation today, so Hassan Soleha from Newburger will be representing Newburger. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to them for 2B.
Just one quick thing. We will lose quorum at 1 p.m., so just want to let everybody know. So
Yes, we will keep it short and sweet.
and we still have a lot of time. It's 10:30, but
Yes.
just wanted to.
All right. Is Hassan online?
Hassan, if you're there, you can go ahead.
Sir is online, but he's muted at the minute.
He may have stepped away, so perhaps we move to the private markets report by Nikita and come back to Newburgh.
Sounds good. So let's do 2C before 2B.
Okay, thank you. Oh, he's back apparently.
Okay,
Oh,
cancel that.
So sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Well, it's nice to see everyone. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Hassan Soleja, and I'm a vice president at Newburgher. I've been with this group for 9 years now, and I'm happy to give a brief update on the plan overview. So I will go ahead and share my screen. And I'll sprinkle some market commentary as well throughout. But I think big picture, I would say from Q3 to Q4, there were fairly limited changes in terms of valuation. You'll see on this page that the performance of the legacy portfolio is largely unchanged at this time, at a 9.7% net IRR and a 1.6 times MOIC. And for the strategic partnership with Neuberger Berman, Series 1 is now fully committed, generating almost a 21% net IRR. It's on an annualized basis and net of all fees and carry. And Series 2 just started investing over the last year or so, and today is marked right at cost. I think the big picture takeaway I would say from a deal flow perspective is, deal flow is slow, definitely more muted compared to last year. I think in the last few weeks and maybe in the last month, we've seen a bit of a pickup in terms of actionable co-invest deal flow, private investments. But I think the very important thing for us is creating deal flow, whether it's in the form of midlife opportunities or opportunities where we can be strategic with GPs. Overall, I would say the market remains cautious, especially as it pertains to interest rates and the election this year. But we're very happy with the performance of the Street 2 partnership, and over time, we would expect that the multiple to improve as this capital is harvested and ultimately distributed. From a benchmarking perspective, I'll turn to page 11. You'll see that the performance of the 2017 vintage is again strong on a benchmarking basis, first quartile on IRR, and above median on a TVPI basis. I think the important thing here is, capital has been going into the ground over the last several years. Today, we're at a point where, at least for Series 1, we wouldn't expect material new capital to be invested other than for follow-ons. And so over time, this TVPI should grow ideally, and we would expect, these assets to be harvested over the next few years. So, very happy with the benchmarking for Series 1. And then the 2023 vintage is at this point really marked at cost. To date, the vast majority of the capital has been allocated to primaries with some exposure to secondaries and co-investments. But really, this portfolio will take several years to fully mature. The other market point I would make is around distributions. Liquidity is top of mind for everyone. I think you've seen some potential improvement in the capital markets, especially over the last few months. But the IPO window still remains very, very tough. I think there are a number of IPO-ready companies, but ultimately, I think distribution activity has been a lot lower than what we saw over the past few years, and I think that's a key focus area for us, especially for the older vintages, is just how that capital is ultimately monetized in return. But again, I'll pause there if any specific questions, but ultimately very happy with the performance to date, and obviously as stewards of your of their plans capital, we take this job very, very seriously. So happy to respond to specific questions, and I'll pause there.
Hassan, this is Howard Lee. Just thank you for the succinct overview. Just a couple of questions. The references you make to deal flow, is that compared to now or compared to December 31st?
Yeah, comparing year-to-date 24 data to what we saw, in the first few months of 23. I would say 23 was slow, and the first quarter of 24, looking at just some of the market data, was about a 20% decline over the past year. That's on a market basis. And then here at Neuberger, we're right on track with last year's. And I think the reason for that is some of that creating that deal flow, especially unique opportunities where we can add value. So, it remains to be seen how things will play out the rest of the year. But over the last few weeks, call it late April and May, we've seen some momentum change in actionable deal flow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions for Hassan? Great, thank you very much. Appreciate the succinct review, as Howard said.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions, we can move on to C, D, and E to be taken individually by Makeda.
Good morning, trustees. I'm Laura Wyrick from Makeda Investment Group, and we have the public version of the private markets report for you today. Let me share my screen. Okay, so we have a summary on page 1 here of the different private markets asset classes. You have legacy private equity, which was around before Neuberger Berman was hired. Then we have the Neuberger Berman Fund of One, and then the individual private markets asset classes of private debt, real estate, real assets, and venture capital. As you know, the legacy private equity inception year was 2005. More recently, private debt has been around now for about 14 years, and then slightly less mature programs in real estate, real assets, you can see venture capital is the newest asset class here with a slightly less meaningful return since it's been around for less than 5 years. On the far right, I'll direct you to the internal rate of returns for each program, which is in the second from right column, and then we compare that to a public markets equivalent internal rate of return. So the public markets equivalent assumes that capital is called and invested in a public markets index that equates to the same private markets asset class. So it's a measure of if you had put the same money into public markets at the same time as you did for your private markets funds and it was distributed at the same time as well, what would that return have been? So you can see here that your program's internal rate of returns for each asset class, except for venture, the newest asset class, have been higher than the public markets equivalent if you had put those same funds to work at the same time in the public markets. We have summaries here of each of your individual programs, starting with the one that's been around the longest, private debt. It currently is about 4.8% of your total plan, slightly above the 4% policy target. There was one new fund committed during the fourth quarter of 2023, Invesco Credit 3, with a $21 million commitment. And then we show performance sorted by vintage, year, and strategy. And again, on the right couple of columns there, you can see the internal rate of return for each individual fund relative to peers. We also have some charts here. Vintage year diversification is very important in private markets, given that once you commit to a fund, you can't control exactly when funds are called or distributed. So you can see here on the upper left, 2010 and some of those initial funds really dominated this chart for a long time, but now that we've moved forward in time and your staff has continued to commit on their pacing plan over time, you have some good vintage year diversification here. The next program in this report is the Real Assets Program. It currently equates to 2.5% of overall plan value relative to a 4% target. And there were 3 new funds committed to Scout, Orion, and Soraya during this quarter that we're examining here. We have, again, a list of individual investments, both by their vintage year and the name of the fund. And these same diversification charts. And again, you see sort of a concentration here in 2016. And as the plan continues to mature and your staff continues to make regular investments in accordance with your approved pacing plan, that will continue to become further diversified. The next program is the real estate program. Currently stands at about 4.3% of your total plan relative to a 4% target. No new investments during the quarter that we're looking at. And you can see the individual funds here performing as we would expect, and generally stronger internal rate of returns for your funds relative to peers. Good geographic and vintage year diversification as well. And then the last one I'll mention is venture capital. Currently, there have been commitments of $163 million to 15 venture funds, and this is well below its target allocation given how new this program is. Currently 1.3% of the overall retirement plan relative to the 4% target, and one new fund commitment during the quarter that we're looking at. Then we have the individual funds here. As if you take a look on the far right, you'll see that most of them are not meaningful. These are relatively new. There's only been about $500,000 distributed by these funds so far. So as you know, they invest over time and then at some point exit in the future, but there hasn't been enough time invested for them to have exited yet. So this is a immature program that is still developing. You can see the diversification charts here, and then we have the rest of this document. About half of it is dedicated to the market environment, which I won't spend much time on today, but if you want some interesting reading, it's here, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, trustees? I have a quick one, which is, obviously I understand why we have a lag in private markets between when you can report and this, but it doesn't have to be this time, but maybe a suggestion would be to give some color on what's happening year to date, or from the quarter ending to wherever you're reporting.
Sure.
By asset class, that would be helpful. If you have any comments now, that's fine, but from next time, it would be nice to see that, yeah.
Yeah, I think the managers are seeing the same things that Neuberger Berman mentioned in terms of perhaps a slight pickup in fundraising activity. But overall, we're seeing that it's a good environment for limited partners because we're seeing general partners maybe have a bit more trouble fundraising than they did in the past. So there are more opportunities for your staff to identify strong funds.
Are there any of these asset classes where you're seeing more activity since January, or you've, and more of a question for staff, where you made more commitments relative to last quarter or the quarter that we're talking about?
Yeah, I would say the real assets where you see that there were 3 commitments made during this quarter, that's one where it's been an area of focus. There's tremendous opportunities in deal flow, as well as a mismatch of capital where there's more opportunity than capital that's being raised in certain segments. So we've been taking advantage of that. The other one is in private debt, where there continues to be opportunities to provide capital, take advantage of wide credit spreads, high base rates, and produce almost equity-like returns. And that's been another area of focus as well.
Great, thank you. Any questions from Frank or do you know? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item, I think, Prabhu.
Okay.
That will be Laura as well.
All right. Next here we have the pension plan quarterly review as of the end of March 2024. We have the economic and market update here, which I won't spend too much time on in the interest of time, but if you take a look at 2023, we only had one negative major asset class, and that's almost held true as well for the first quarter of 2024. It's not very often that we see an almost 11% return for one asset class during a 3-month period. You can see here that the S&P 500 was up 10.6% during the first quarter, and you had strong returns across the board among equity markets. We did see a bit of a pullback in the month of April, but then again, a recovery so far in May and June. So we do stand with your assets and your performance above where we did at the end of March that I'm talking about now. Getting into your specific fund here, we have the watch list. As you know, we go through any changes at investment managers when there's a team change or an organizational change. And then we note Makita's recommendation. And so, you know, sometimes staff at Makita decide that a change is significant and we recommend some kind of termination or something along those lines. But these changes we recommend holding for now. You can see here the watch list dictates that any manager that is underperforming their benchmark for a 3 or 5 year period is added. And you can see that there are 4 managers currently on that list. And then we go into some commentary on each of them. You can see that generally the managers that have underperformed for 3 and 5 years often still rank highly relative to their peers or are outperforming since inception.
Yeah, I might add one thing here, Laura. We do have an fairly extensive discussion every time there's an asset class review at the IC around underperforming managers. So I just wanted to highlight it to the rest of the board.
Thank you. You can see on page 29 here an overview of the assets and the asset allocation in your pension plan. So total assets stood above $5 billion. During the quarter, you had net cash outflows of $63 million and investment gains in the 3-month period of $168 million. You can see that these are the policy targets improved in March of 2022. We had an additional policy update relatively recently, so that will be reflected in your next report. The total fund returned 3.5% during the first quarter of 2024. That brought the fiscal year to date to 7.8%. And as your CIO reported, we expect that fiscal year to date is now above that level, well into the 8s, and the 1-year trailing return at 11%. You can see here that the 1 and 3 year time periods have also significantly outperformed. We look at 5 years as more of a full market cycle, and that is above median for the peer group. The returns for the quarter, fiscal year to date, and 1 year, you can see were really driven by public equity. The public equity in your plan was up almost 23% for the trailing 1 year period. Global equity up 25%. U.S. equity in particular up almost 30% for the 1 year period and 10% just during the 3 months that we're looking at here. A couple of bright spots on a relative basis have been in the emerging markets. You can see emerging markets equity here has nearly doubled its benchmark return for the quarter and has done so for the trailing 1 year period as well. So emerging markets equity has trailed the U.S. recently, but the way that your staff has implemented emerging markets equity with a higher allocation to India relative to China has been really positive on a relative basis. We've seen Private markets behind public markets recently. When I look at this report from a year or two ago, we saw private markets really dominating. So we've seen a bit of a reversal between public and private markets, which just shows me the benefit of diversification and why have both of those in your plan for different time periods. We do go through all of the individual managers in this report as well, comparing them.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
No, please. Is this typical where you see a lag between private market returns, or I should say, maybe lag is the wrong word, but the fact that we have slower marks and the illiquidity asset class, is this a pattern that we've observed? And the investment team can also answer that if they want to.
Yes, so we always have a lag based on valuations in private markets. And really, that's why we focus on the private markets report first before showing the private markets in the overall plan, because these are all time-weighted returns, not the best way of evaluating whether or not your individual private markets asset classes and managers are doing their job that you hired them for. But in order to roll up performance of private markets into the total fund, we need to look at time-weighted as well. So recently, private markets have lagged public markets in terms of performance. They also lag public markets in terms of timing of valuation, which is, it makes sense to look at them over a longer term time period than the shorter time periods.
Thank you.
Then we do go through individual managers here. I think, we would say at Makita that your execution and implementation of various asset classes is really best practice. There's not a proliferation of too many managers where none of them are material. You have managers, if you're going to pay active management fees, that are actually doing something different and unique relative to the benchmark. And the way that you've implemented, or your staff has implemented, individual asset classes like emerging markets equity has been creative in terms of having some dedicated country-only funds. So I won't go through every manager in the interest of time, but I will flip ahead here to some risk statistics as well, because we want to take a look not only at your returns, but how much risk is being taken to get to those returns. So I'll look here at the 3-year period on page 57. So you can see that the total fund ranked pretty close to the top quartile in terms of the 3-year return. And this is the top quartile of the peer group, the greater than $1 billion public pension funds. And you can see that the standard deviation was also below the median of the peer group. So a Sharpe ratio, or a measure of risk-adjusted return, has been in the top quartile of the peer group for 3 years. And that's true as well for the 5-year period. So we do like to pay attention to the risk positioning as well as the return. I'm happy to take any questions on the pension before we move on to the healthcare.
Any questions or comments, Dave?
Question on this risk-adjusted return slide. What do you think is the reason for this fund behaving better than the peer groups? I mean, a lot of times I'm kind of thinking that it could be because of the private markets. The exposure to the private market actually kind of deceivingly brings down the risk. Am I thinking about it the right way or not?
Yes, that's definitely a factor. The fact that private markets are only valued every so often. And so if you put private markets returns in an Excel sheet and public markets returns and you just do a standard deviation function, it's going to look less risky. When you look at this peer group, though, the public pension funds over $1 billion, most of them have private markets that are similar to you all in terms of allocation. And so that's why we like to look at the peer group, because everybody's affected by the same thing. So your fund really has been less risky, I think, relative to this group. And it's a lot of different things that contribute to that. One has been active manager selection and trying to pay attention to downside risk. One manager that comes to mind that's done really well in your portfolio is GQG Emerging Markets. One of the reasons we like them is because they're much less volatile than the emerging markets equity benchmark as a whole. So I think there are different things that contribute.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, the reference to peer group as a better benchmark or a better comparison. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I would have had a short answer to that, which is Prabhu and team, but...
What's that?
Yeah. Okay.
I said I would have had a short answer to that.
I apologize for
the credit.
not mentioning the other factor.
And
There's
generally,
many-
Prabhu gives
there's
us
many
credit
factors,
for the
yes.
asset allocation.
Isn't that obvious? That's why I didn't mention it. No, I'm just kidding. So, but I think Laura's point is a valid one. When you look at a 3 to 5 year basis, then the mark-to-markets, even though they're less volatile, it goes away over a longer time period, right? And two, our peers have just as much in private markets as we do.
Yeah, I think that's something I want to get confirmation on, so that.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question.
Sorry. But good job, Prabhu.
Thank you. It's
Laura,
all.
you too.
I just signed the documents. It's really the team.
Normally, he gives credit to the board for the SAA.
I do. So
I'm
I have
asking
to,
for
I
credit,
have
no,
to
I'm just
say
kidding.
it's really the board's excellent strategic asset allocation that led to that. We merely execute the wishes of the board.
And it happened before I joined the board, so I won't take credit. So anyway,
Okay, we're
just
going down the
joking.
wrong path now. We just.
We need to have some humor here, so.
Okay, I'll move on briefly to the Healthcare Trust, which, as you know, generally uses the same strategic asset allocation philosophy as the pension, with a subset of the managers that are liquid and accept smaller asset sizes, given that this fund is a much lower asset value than the pension. So we do have the watch list with the same information on it. And you can see as of the end of March, the Healthcare Trust asset value is $337 million. And you can see the allocations here to growth, low beta, and other. And, you know, as we've discussed in the past, this healthcare trust is a bit riskier than other peer healthcare trusts because it has a higher target rate of return actuarially. So it needs to take on more risk to try to reach that return, which ends up being a very good thing when we're in a risk-on environment. And you take a look at peers here, and the peer relative rankings are incredibly strong for the 5-year period in the top 5% of the peer group of health and welfare funds. So you see a quarter return of 3.6%, fiscal year to date of almost 8%, and 1 year of 10.7%. So slightly behind your pension fund, but very strong for a health and welfare fund. And we have the same manager information relative to benchmarks in here that we did in the pension. One different thing here is that when you look at the volatility relative to peers, the volatility of this fund is much higher than that of peers, which has resulted in returns that are also much higher than that of peers. But it's nice to see that those things, you are still getting a risk-adjusted return or Sharpe ratio that is well into the top quartile of the peer group.
Questions? So I guess I just have one question for the team. How do you, or maybe the consultants, make sure that you have the same intensity of approach on a $200 million fund versus a $5 billion?
Oh, that's yeah. That requires a very long answer. But I will. Well, I think there's various ways to incentivize investment teams to do well, and so we've certainly spoken about that at the JPC, and I'm hoping that those discussions will continue to incentivize staff to do well. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's a lot of the credit goes to how well we work with the board, and as well as the quality of the people we have on the team. And of course, not to mention our consultants. And so I think really kudos to the team that was put together by my predecessor. And I was fortunate to hire a couple of them after I came on board, and continuity of staff, and just a desire to excel and to be in the top quartile. And that's a mantra that we follow, and that's something that we constantly remind ourselves that we should be best in class. And there's no reason why a public plan and a small public plan cannot be as good as the best endowment or foundation out there. And I think we pay a lot of attention to hiring, and I think that's paid dividends. And I think it also helps when there's continuity, and when the boards allow us the freedom and the flexibility to follow a path over a long period of time without changing course. I think that's governance. So I think that's a big part of it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Should we move on? I think we're done with the investment piece. Is that right, Prabhu?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Moving on to item 3, which is old business. We have none. We have new business, and the first item is our CEO's last update to the board, I guess.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ganapati. Good morning, everyone. So a couple of things. I'll make my last one a quick one. The senior analyst position at the benefits area have been filled, and we filled the position with a promotion internally to Giselle Holmcomb. Giselle actually was working at the office when I first joined some 11 years ago, and she was with us for about 2009 to about 2014, and then left to raise a family and came back just in 2022. So now she's been promoted to senior analyst, and just wanted to publicly congratulate Giselle for the new position, and give wish her the best. I also wanted to let you know that our office summer picnic is planned for tomorrow, tomorrow afternoon. So we'll be at the office in the morning, but in the afternoon we'll be at our summer picnic at Kelly Park. In addition, the office will be closed in observance of June 10th, June 19th, and also will be closed the Monday of July 4th for Independence Day. The June 19th actually happens to be a Wednesday. And lastly, I do want to wish a speedy recovery to our Deputy Director. You can see she's not here this morning. She suffered a fractured foot last week and is going to be in a boot for about 6 to 8 weeks. So Barbara, I hope you start feeling better soon. That concludes my last update to you, board. And again, it has been a pleasure and an honor to work with all of you and work for all the plan members these 11 years. So I just want to personally, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the opportunity, and wish all of you and the pension plans the best of luck in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Roberto. Will be missed. Could go on to the 4B. Council member Pam Foley is here, and would love to get an update from you.
Thank you. Roberto, I didn't realize this was your last meeting, so I wish you well in your retirement or whatever the next chapter of your life holds for you. It's a kind of an exciting time to be able to make that choice and that decision. Just a couple of things. We are in budget season right now, and budget season tends to be somewhat of a stressful time as we try to figure out how we're going to fund all of the programs and services that our residents depend upon and that we commit to offering to our employees as well. So we have several focus areas there. Homelessness, blight, public safety are amongst them. And so any priority in the budget is dealt around there, as well as economic development. The budget came out earlier this year. We will have a hearing on Monday. Then we'll review the budget on Tuesday for approval, and then initial adoption of the budget, or final adoption of the budget the final week. The budget came in first, mayor's message and the city manager's message. We were at difficult times. We still are at difficult times because of a stormwater permit that we didn't have. We have now received the stormwater permit, but we are under obligation to make some very dramatic and serious changes and implement certain things so that we clean up all of our waterways. That has to be done by December 31st, 2025. So we've had a 6-month extension on what the water board had told us originally, which is good, but that still means we're under pressure, and that does have a tremendous impact on our budget. That's one thing. On the good side is we received notice that our tax revenue is up by about 12 million from our original projections, which is great. That's a combination of Measure E, which is transfer tax dollars, and the other is sales tax dollars. So all of that enabled us to fund some of the things that we were concerned about being able to fund. On a retirement board note, I do have a meeting along with Councilmember Dev Davis, who's the liaison to the Federated Board, on this coming Monday, with the two chairs, with Sunita and Franco, and then the chair and vice chair from the Federated Board, to discuss the memorandum of understanding draft that we have submitted to them for, and I'm assuming or hoping that you've had this discussion in closed session on the MOU and that we're able to move forward. You should also know that we did talk about, and we are proceeding potentially with a ballot measure, because we have to do both in tandem because of the timing on the ballot measure. The goal is really to avoid a ballot measure, so I'm hoping we can really come together on the MOU. So with that, I will leave that to, one other thing I wanted to say back about the budget, which relates to public safety, is that we have a focus on recruiting women into the fire department. We have a goal of 30% women will be employed as firefighters. So we're targeting through a boot camp of current female firefighters and hoping to recruit. We need to recruit all firefighters, but the vice mayor wanted to focus on females in particular because our numbers are really dwindling in female firefighters. So we want to figure out a way that we can encourage them and get them trained and interested in becoming firefighters. And with that, I'll leave open for any questions.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Councilmember Foley, how much of the impact that you believe the state and federal, that you're not, because of the state, all the cuts, how much of that impact gonna hurt San Jose? Because I don't know I know you don't know what you're gonna be getting.
Yeah, we don't. Well, we had in our budget, we had projected an income for homelessness of $11 million from the state. It was a really tentative dollar amount. So the new the 12 million increase that we have on sales tax revenue and Measure E tax dollars will be used to offset that questionable 11 million. If that 11 million actually comes to fruition, that'll be a good thing, because that'll go to affordable housing and homelessness prevention. But it will have, we were committed funds for homelessness. We're not getting them. And so I know that the big city mayors have really been lobbying the governor for some relief there and some assistance. So still to be determined, but it has a huge impact, Dick.
Thank you for your update. And pleased to hear about the recruitment effort. And
Thanks.
I don't know if any other trustees have a question for Councilmember Pam or one. Okay.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. 4C, is that Roberto, you or Maytak? Or?
Maytak, I believe.
I thought you were going to take this one.
I can try Maytak if you would like me to. So after as part of the collaboration approach, working with the city on policies and procedures and any other issues that will come in the future, we actually met Jennifer Shembri, the director of HR and OER, was actually requested by the city manager to be the contact person. She reached out to me, and so we started discussions. And in fact, as I have mentioned before, our office have had a couple of meetings with the finance director on a couple of those policies and procedures. But as part of the discussion, we received from the city a list of specific policies that apparently we either had neglected to, we as in the retirement boards and the Office of Retirement Services neglected to approve, or that have been amended by the city and they need to be updated for approval. So in dealing with C, that's the list of policies that it appears we had not approved in the past. So they are here before you this morning individually, so that your board can approve them as is, as they are actually in the Muni Code right now. And we are recommending approval for these policies. Did I do that correctly, Maytag? Was that the point?
Yes, that's correct. So these
Thank you.
policies were adopted by City Council after we initially started our policy review. So these are in the delta, so to speak. So the list that we were working from was pulled from October 27, 2023, and these were adopted thereafter. So looking at all of these are all relating to HR and employment issues, and we see no reason not to adopt them.
This is Franco, motion to approve.
Second.
I had a question.
Yeah.
What is the difference between C and D in terms of approving? They're separated out?
Sure, I can respond to that if that's okay. So in item D, we did review the city policy 2.13. So that policy existed pre-October 27th, 2023. But however, the city council amended that policy on April 9th, 2024. And in that policy, they've added in ORS and the director of, or CEO of ORS as an appointing authority that falls within the parameters of that policy. As you recall, before we were not included, and we raised that to the city council.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I had one other question. Are there any policies since October 7th, 23 that have been adopted by the city that are not listed here?
Well, I don't have a full list of those. This list we've gotten from Cheryl Parkman. The last time we interacted with her, she gave the email to Roberto, and we took a look at those policies. And so Cheryl's here; she can maybe weigh in.
Hi, everyone. There are no other policies.
Okay.
Since that time, this was a list that was forwarded over in the last month, so we have not adopted. And if we do, we would absolutely communicate with the Office of Retirement Services to make sure that the boards could adopt those new policies.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. So we have a motion from any other discussion?
Yeah, actually, this is Dave. I have one question on the city paid parental leave. Currently, there are different hours offered to different unions, so I'm just wondering what the hours of paid parental leave will be for the Office of Retirement Services.
Charlotte, is that you?
So that will be based on the negotiated hours with the different unions. So the unions that are covered in the Office of Retirement Services are MEF and CAMP and Unit 99. So the hours would be based on the union or the professional group that the employees are or that they belong to.
Okay, thanks. That actually makes sense. Thank you, Cheryl.
No problem.
And Dave, just to make sure that does the policy need any clarification, or is it understood? No, it's understood. Roberto's not. Okay, got it. All right, we have a motion from Franco, second from Dick. We'll go around the room voting. How do you vote, Andrew? Aye. Dick? Yes. Howard?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Franco?
Aye.
Dave Wilson?
Aye.
And Sunita, aye. So the motion carries. All right, 4D, I think you touched upon this. I don't know if Roberto or Maytag, who's going to talk about this? I think it's
All I'm going to say is Maytag just explained it just now in response to Trustee Lee on the question. I'm not sure there's anything further to be said, but if there are any questions, we will be happy to address them. Unless you have any further comments, no.
So this is to include ORS in the city discipline policy. That's what it was. Okay, I'll do a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, Gardner.
So we have a first from Dick Santos and a second from Gardner. How shall we go around the room? Dave Kwan,
Yes.
Howard Lee,
Yes.
Dick Santos,
Yes.
Aye.
Andrew, aye, and Franco,
Aye.
Dave Wilson,
Aye.
and this is Sunita, aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. And we have one last item, which is 4E. Discussion and action on city policy 1.8.2 for city employee travel, and there are two attachments. One is the policy and the other is a previous board resolution. We'll be out
I'm
of
with
here
you,
soon.
Trustee Santos. Again, this is, there was a revision of the policy, and we provided proof that your board had actually approved, and there's a resolution of this policy back in, I believe, 2017. And, but in any case, we are recommending approval to your board. I don't know if you want to offer any further details on the comments, Maytag?
Sure, if I may. So in 2018, the board had adopted the city policy, travel policy, as applying to all of Aura staff. And so that has always been the board's position on travel. However, in 2019, there was an amendment to the city policy on travel. And so what we're asking here today is just to clarify that the prior direction of the board also applies to this 2019 travel policy for all city employees, with the understanding that the governance committee may take a look at this for the investment staff in particular.
Thank you, Meera. So just to clarify, I think this is one of the policies where we are likely to have a further discussion with the city around differences. But in the meantime, we're adopting the as-is policy from the city. Do you have a motion, or did you have any discussion? Or?
Yeah, my same motion's there.
All right, Dick Santos already, we have a first from him. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Dave Kwan, second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, on the question, everybody was trying to do the best they can to lower the fees, make travel closer to the applicant, and we go on, everybody cared a lot about it, and we talked this thing to death. So everybody's trying to do the best they can to save the plan money, at the same time, be convenient.
Yeah, good point. I mean,
Pretty simple.
It's good to go back and see what we had approved, so thank you. Agree with that. Oh, so how do we vote? Let's start around the room. Andrew? Aye. Dick is aye. Howard?
Yes.
Yes.
Dave Kwan. Franco?
Aye.
Dave Wilson?
Aye.
And this is Sunita, so the resolution carries. All right, item number 5, we have retirements. I'll go one by one. Michael Borges, police officer, police department, effective July 20th, 2024, 21.11 years of service. Christopher J. Craig, police officer, police department, effective July 20th, 2024, 27.16 years of service, with reciprocity with CSJ and PERS. Michelle A. Hinge, police officer, police department, effective July 20th, 2024, 25.03 years of service. Matthew Curley, and pardon me if I have not pronounced that right, police officer, police department, effective July 20th, 2024, 25.25 years of service. Brian R. Matchett, police captain, police department, effective May 25th, 2024, 28.19 years of service. Yeah, that's the end of the list. I'm normally the person whose name is hard to pronounce, so I'm on the other end of the seat now. But do we have any comments from on the retirements?
Well, Madam Chair, it's the police officers, and so that's the majority of them. It bothers me because I'm getting older and I don't know any of them, so it's tough. But of course, wish them the best.
Thank you.
This is Dave. First of all, Sunita, you did fine on the names. Second of all, worked with all these people. They're fine, outstanding people, and I wish them well in the next chapter of their lives and have a very long retirement.
Thank you.
And motion to.
Oh, we need a motion? Sorry.
Right.
I
Second.
apologize. Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion from Dave Wilson. We actually already have a second from Dick Santos. How do we vote? We'll go around the room. Andrew?
Aye.
Dick? Howard?
Yes.
Yes.
Dave? Franco?
Aye.
Dave Wilson? We didn't hear you, Dave Wilson, for the record.
Aye.
That was a lot of ayes, and I vote aye as well, the motion carries. 5.2, early retirement deferred vested. Christopher J. Gridley, police officer, police department, effective July 14, 2024, 21.59 years of service with reciprocity with CSJ and PERS. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Dick is the first. Any second?
Second Gardner.
Second Gardner. How do we vote? Dave Kwan?
Yes.
Howard Lee?
Yes.
Nick Santos?
Yes.
Andrew
Aye.
Franco?
Aye.
Dave Wilson?
Aye.
And this is Sunita, aye as well, motion carries. 5.3, deferred vested, Jeffrey D. Booth, police sergeant, police department, effective August 1st, 2024, 28.80 years of service with reciprocity with CSJ and PERS. Philip J. Giusto, police officer, police department, effective July 4th, 2024, 28.36 years of service with reciprocity with CSJ and PERS. William M. Hoyt, the third, police officer, police department, effective August 4, 2024, 25.52 years of service with reciprocity with CSJ and PERS. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, motion to approve.
Motion by Dick, second.
Second by Gardner.
Second by Garnier. How do we vote? Dave Kwan?
Yes.
Howard Lee?
Yes.
Dick Santos?
Yes.
Andrew Garnier?
Yes.
Frank Wado?
Aye.
Dave Olson?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The motion carries. Number 6 on the agenda is death and survivorship notifications. We have a notification of the death of Margaret Anthony, assistant police officer who retired May 3rd, 1997, died March 25th, 2024. No survivorship benefits. Nice long retirement. Notification of the death of Doris M. Lee Harold, police officer, retired July 24, 2009, died May 10th, 2024, with no survivorship benefits. Does anybody have any comments?
This is Dave. I'll just say thoughts and prayers to their family and friends, and any person who devotes their life to the service that we do will always be hopefully in the good graces of higher powers than us. So God be with them.
Thank you, Dave. And I note that both of the passing away were women, and it's just unusual to see that. We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll move on to committee reviews. I know Ishwar is out, and I've been talking a lot, so I don't know if one of Howard or Andrew want to give an update.
Yeah, I can give a brief update. We've had 2 investment committee meetings on the 15th and on 15th of April and May 14th. We discussed in general the strategic asset allocation as well as a review of the investment IPS. I knew the acronym, but the IPS.
And we will be having an update to the board in the coming months around that.
That's correct.
Still not ready for the board. Audit Risk Committee, Howard, back to you.
Thank you. The last meeting we had was on May 16th. We discussed a number of things that are also in this agenda 7.2. We discussed the ORS timeline for implementing recommendations based on the city auditor's report. We discussed the amendment to the internal audit charter in terms of hiring and performance review. We also discussed the letter to Bank of New York Mellon, which I think Roberto may have an update on that. And then finally, MGO presented their proposal for the audit.
Thank you. And we need to receive and file the minutes from the meeting, which is 7.2B. And we have a discussion and action on ORS's proposed timeline and plan for implementing the city auditor's report dated April 4th. We discussed this at the audit committee, I think, Howard. You want to update, or do you want Roberto?
What is the action is discussion and action?
Yeah, so the goal here is the committee actually took some action, and the committee will be recommending to the board the action that they actually are recommending to the board to be taken, not only for item C, but also item D.
Yeah, those were discussed, and I think the recommendation was to put forth those two items to the board.
Right. And I think 7.2C was also reviewed at the city council, right?
So that actually I think is Barbara, if I'm mistaken here, please correct me. As part of the discussion at the city council, Councilmember Davis requested an info memo on the expected timeline of the implementation of the recommendations by the city auditor, which we actually as an office issued to the city council, and address the different timeline for the different recommendations by the city auditor. So, Barbara, this C is related to that implementation process and the timeline to meet those recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, so again, that memo was already issued. It was part of the discussion. It's here. And so what you have here is the recommendations and the info memo. And I think the action that the audit committee took was to your board to approve the timelines as recommended in the info memo. Did I get that correctly, Barbara, or did they change any specific dates?
No.
No? Okay, very well. Thank you.
So I guess I'll do a motion to approve.
So moved.
Dick Santos is the first. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Howard Lee. Do we have any more discussion on this? Okay, how do we vote? We'll start with Andrew.
Aye.
Dick?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Dave Kwan?
Yes.
Franco?
Aye.
Dave Wilson?
Aye.
I heard aye, and I vote aye as well, so the motion carries. Next one is a discussion and action on amendment to the internal audit charter to reflect process for hiring the internal auditor and on performance evaluation issues. So any discussion on this, Howard or Roberto or Maytag?
No, I think Maytag can address what the significant changes were.
Sure. If you look at pages 6 and 7, this were red line changes made at the direction of the the Joint Audit Committee. The changes here were to memorialize the ad hoc committee procedure that the committee came up with and the boards approved for the audit committee to participate in the hiring and selection of the senior auditor for ORS. That's reflected on page 6. The red lines on page 7 specify that the audit committee will participate in the performance evaluation of the senior internal auditor as well. Those are the only two changes made to the internal auditor charter.
Any questions? Okay, motion to approve.
So moved.
Dick Santos first, any second?
Second, Gardner.
Second, Gardner. How do we vote? We'll start with Dave Kwan.
Yes.
Howard Lee.
Yes.
Dick Santos.
Yes.
Andrew Gardner.
Aye.
Franco.
Aye.
Dave Wilson.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The motion carries. Item E, update on status of request to Bank of New York Mellon to correct fiscal years 2016 to 23 pension plan returns based on the results of the agreed upon procedure audit from MGO.
Yes, so at the committee meeting, I updated the committee that the letter as recommended by the boards was actually issued to Bank of New York Mellon, signed by myself and the two chairs. There have been a couple of back and forth with them and our key contact person at the office with Bank of New York Mellon, which is Jay Kwan, and they're still working through the process. I think there have been some questions by Bank of New York Mellon. And there is a range of eventual results on the request that we put forward. So we're still working through it. And when the process is completed and when the final determination is made, we will come back to your board with the end result. Did I explain that correctly, Jay? Is there anything you want to mention, or did I leave anything out? Don't feel compelled like you have to, but if you do, please feel free to do so.
It's very complicated, but it sounded perfect.
Okay. So he's saying that I explained it correctly, to my dismay. Very well. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, so I might just add that given that this is essentially the implementation of the audit, Jay, I know the audit committee had asked also for finance to be involved, but I guess there's less of a conflict of interest because the numbers are already vetted. Is that a fair statement, that you feel comfortable running with this?
Yeah, at this point, I think most of the work is
Can you come to the mic, please? Yeah, thanks.
He was trying to avoid that, but as we know, he loved talking in the microphone. Good to see you, Jay.
How could I not speak on your last meeting? So I think most of the remaining work is operational. We're at the point in the process where we're kind of documenting what we need to do. Bank of New York Mellon wants us to fill out a couple amendments to the agreement that'll codify the fees and scope of the project. We have the work mapped out, and as you noted, we have the actual returns already specified. So most of it is just getting it into the custodial book of record and then reconfiguring our reporting to pull from that new return stream.
And you have support from the finance group as well. I mean, Benji and team.
Yeah, I think to the extent that they can participate, sure.
Any questions? Motion to approve. Or is there a motion? No, it's just an update.
No, just
Thank
an
you.
update.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Last item, discussion on action on financial year 23-24 ORS audit plan by MGO.
So again, this is related to the upcoming financial audit by Messias Jeannie and O'Connell, MGO, for the Office of Retirement Services as of June 30th, 2024. And they presented to the audit committee their audit plan for the coming audit, which the audit committee approved and is recommending to your board for approval as presented by Messias Jeannie. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, that covers it. They gave a good presentation.
Motion to approve. Howard?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second by Dick. How do we vote? Andrew?
Aye.
Aye.
Dick Santos, aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Dave Kwan. Franco?
Aye.
Dave Wilson?
Aye.
And Sunita, aye. The motion carries. Any discussion from anybody? No, okay. Motion carries. 7.3, Governance Committee update. Franco, anything?
Nothing to report. Next meeting, I believe, is June 18th.
Correct.
Disability Committee. Dick?
Yeah, Disability Committee, talking about it?
Yeah.
Okay. We meet at, June 10th was this Monday at 10 o'clock. You have the minutes there, and that's it. And by the way, the doctor's reports are very thorough than I've ever seen them. Everybody does a great job. Our staff is well prepared, and I appreciate all the work.
Okay. Receive and file the minutes from the PNF Disability Committee on April 8th. And thank you for the update. JPC, Ishwar is out. I don't know if Andrew has any update.
Yeah, the only update is JPC is continuing working on the hiring of the new CEO and going through the candidates. We will be meeting in a week and a half to do final rounds of interviews, and hopefully we'll have an announcement by end of June, early July.
Thank you. Any proposed agenda items from anybody? Any public comments? Hearing none. I guess we're adjourned. Next meeting is on August 1st. Everybody have a wonderful summer break, and we will miss you in July and see you on August 1st. Thank you.